we do have a projection we can make right now. And CNN is projecting that President Biden will win as a write-in candidate in the Democratic primary in New Hampshire over multiple challengers who were on the actual ballot. Remember, this primary is not sanctioned by the Democratic Party here in Washington, D.C., and it does not count for delegates. Still, the DNC did not want Biden to lose, and he did pull off a write-in candidate victory in a primary that is not official.
Well, Jesse, the Fox News Decision Desk can now project that former President Donald Trump will win the New Hampshire Republican primary. This is an important win for Trump, given the role that undeclared voters, moderate New England Republicans, play in this state in particular.
He defeats his only notable rival still in this race, former Governor Nikki Haley. Haley appears to be running a somewhat closer race.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the New Hampshire primary. And none of you should be surprised with the results of the race because we all kind of knew what would happen. However, the details in regards to the results themselves is probably a little more surprising than the end result. Okay, so as you can see here, Trump has won over Nikki Haley. We're going to talk about that. And Biden has won over Dean Phillips and Marianne Williamson. Now, the results don't necessarily reflect this in the New Hampshire primary webpage for Politico, but Biden is a write-in candidate, so the votes are taking a lot longer to come in, but they've already declared Biden the winner, even though he didn't really enter the race because apparently New Hampshire is too white, right? And the Democrats want South Carolina to go first because they have more black people, right? More diversity, equity, inclusion. But regardless of Joe Biden's victory, Democrats are still sounding the alarm on Joe Biden as a general election candidate, basically saying, look, he's probably going to lose to Trump, and he is not mentally fit enough to be president of the United States anymore. Take a look.
We have a crisis of participation. And I got to tell you guys, I went to a Donald Trump rally a couple nights ago. Never been to one. I had an event across the street. I saw the line of people waiting in the cold for hours. And I thought, what the heck? You know, I'm going to be a leader who actually invites people, doesn't condemn them. Met probably 50 Trump people waiting in line. Every single one of them, thoughtful, hospitable, friendly. All of them so frustrated that they feel nobody's listening to them but Donald Trump. A diverse crowd, people who had never been to a Trump event before. My party is completely delusional right now.
You debated Joe Biden. Have you noticed a difference in his performance?
I haven't been around him personally up close, but I've been talking to folks, and they've noticed a decline.
In what way?
Oh, they say that, he is not as energetic, that he sometimes seems to lose concentration and focus. And the fact is that the guy's 81 years old. He would have to be highly unusual not to be experiencing something that's very, very natural.
Yeah, so you're saying that, you heard that, okay? So despite Biden winning, he's still getting trashed by his fellow colleagues, okay? You have Dean Phillips, who he was running against, basically saying, look, this guy is going to get crushed by Trump. My party is delusional, which he's 100% right about that, right? It's crazy how this guy has to run against Joe Biden to realize that his party is delusional. When somebody like me that's, on the outside looking in, like clearly and obviously you can see that Democrats are delusional, but hey, it is what it is, okay? And then you have Andrew Yang, who also ran against Biden, saying, yeah, this guy is not mentally fit to be in office, okay? So with that being said, we got to talk about Trump and Haley. And this is where the surprise kind of comes in, because although it was predicted that Trump will win by the polls, the margin here is a lot more thinner than what the polls were suggesting. Earlier today, I did a video where the New Hampshire poll had Trump up. I think maybe he had like a 15 to 19 point margin, something like that. Trump had like 55 percentage points. Nikki Haley had like 38%, okay? And a lot of people were asking, like, where is all this support for Nikki Haley coming from? Because now, again, as we're seeing the results come in, Nikki Haley actually seems to have had more support than what the polls suggested. And it seems like, just based off some of the video evidence that we have here in the exit polls, that, Nikki Haley had independents, aka Democrats or left-leaning liberal voters, show up for her, or just had flat-out Democrats register as Republicans just to vote for Nikki Haley. Take a look.
Nikki Haley.
And why did you vote for Nikki Haley?
It's a vote against Trump. I think it would be better to have her against Biden in the elections than it would be Trump and her.
Do you consider yourself generally independent, Republican, or Democrat?
Democrat.
So when you undeclared, you voted for Nikki Haley. If it was Nikki Haley against Joe Biden in a general election, who are you voting for?
Joe Biden.
Two types of voters generally who I've been speaking to. One, registered Democrats who are writing in Joe Biden as a show of solidarity, a symbolic show of solidarity with the president. And the other, which is an undeclared voter who has a more liberal leading ideology and who seems to be voting for Nikki Haley almost strategically. And one of those voters is with me right now, Christian, a freshman from Dartmouth College, rather. Christian, who did you vote for and why?
Yeah, so thank you. I voted for Nikki Haley, and it was certainly a strategic vote. I think that the DNC is fairly resolute in their nomination for Joe Biden. And while I wouldn't vote for her in a general election, particularly on our differences with climate change solution, a women's right to bodily autonomy, or incarceration rates, I think a vote for Nikki Haley helps diminish Trump's influence in the RNC and their nomination, but is also a vote towards democracy.
We asked folks coming into the polls, do you identify as a Republican? Do you identify as a Democrat? Or do you identify as an independent? And here's what we found in this exit poll so far. And I think this jumps right out at you. A minority of voters in this first wave of the exit poll in the Republican primary identify as Republicans. A majority, 53%, identify as either independents, 45%, or, and this is a high number historically, 8% identify as Democrats. For some context here, in 2016, the last competitive Republican presidential primary in New Hampshire, the electorate was 55% Republican. It was 42% independent, and it was 3% Democratic. So in this initial wave, you're seeing some significant differences from 2016.
Take a look at the numbers. Among Trump voters, 70% of them, according to our exit polls, are registered Republicans. Donald Trump, his support, 27% of his voters are registered undeclareds or independents. 3% were unregistered before today. Look at how that compares with Nikki Haley. It's a complete reversal. It's an alternate universe. Among Haley voters, 70% are registered undeclareds. Only 27% are registered Republicans.
Yeah, so basically what explains these numbers that we're seeing between Trump and Nikki Haley is that Nikki Haley's support isn't actually really support for her because people like her. It's more about Trump deranged Democrats and independents coming out and voting for Nikki Haley in the GOP primary. And that is why you're seeing what you're seeing here. But regardless, Nikki Haley losing New Hampshire is a huge blow for her campaign. At this point, there is no realistic path to victory, even if she wins South Carolina, right? That is the state that, because she was the former governor of South Carolina, she probably had the best chance of winning outside of New Hampshire. So it's no surprises that Nikki Haley is getting calls to drop out, right? She needs to drop out, see the writing on the wall, understand that Trump is probably going to win. I mean, he's certainly going to win. I mean, like, again, New Hampshire was one of her only shots. And again, that's why you have people like Vivek Ramaswamy, who also saw the writing on the wall for himself in Iowa. He's coming out and saying, hey, Nikki, you need to drop out. Come on now.
Look, I think this is a decisive win for Donald Trump. That's what we're seeing tonight. I think there's actually an interesting view of this, which is it's like a terrain for the general election. You have more independents and Democrats, it looks like, voting in this GOP primary than registered Republicans themselves. And many of the largest donors to the Democratic Party have been the largest donors to Nikki Haley, who's Donald Trump's opponent here. So I think this is a prediction of what you're going to see in the general election. And the decisive margin we see tonight is in some ways, I think, something that bodes well for Trump heading into the general election in November to reunite this country. And so in my view, the general election really begins tonight. I think the Republican primary, for all intents and purposes, is over tonight. And I think the party and the country are better off if we see that for what it is.
Is Vivek Ramaswamy calling for Nikki Haley to suspend her campaign?
Look, I do think that would be the right thing for the country, unambiguously. And also just to call a spade, Jesse. As you know, I've not been unafraid to do that in this campaign. if Nikki Haley does stay in, it will send the signal that her only path and what she's playing for is for Donald Trump being eliminated by forces outside of this process, by the judicial system, by secretaries of state in places like Maine or elsewhere. And I think that's downright wrong. I think it's wrong for the Republican Party. I think it's wrong for this country. There is no viable path for her to defeat him through the front door. And so what we're really just seeing is the very people like Reid Hoffman, who are paying for the lawsuits against Donald Trump, now becoming the largest donors or among the largest donors to Nikki Haley. It becomes obvious that the thing they're playing for is Trump to be eliminated by what I view as illegitimate means. And I think that is bad for this party, bad for this country. That's what that will mean. And so for that reason, I do think the right decision for Nikki Haley to make for the country and for the Republican Party tonight or very soon after tonight is to make this a one-person nomination for the Republican nomination and then head to a general election where we can focus, I think, Jesse, this year on delivering a 1980-style moral mandate, a Reagan-style landslide. When you have the likes of John Fetterman even recently talking about the importance of the southern border, that says that many Democrats and independents and libertarians agree with the views of this America First movement. That's why I took myself out of the race to endorse Donald Trump. I think the other Republicans have done the right thing. It's time for Nikki Haley to do the right thing as well and focus on a landslide this November that, dare I say, will reunite this country, and that's why I'm in this.
All right, Vivek, thank you so much. Enjoy the party.
Yeah, so Vivek brings up a great point, right? In the sense that you have a state like New Hampshire. That is a weird state, okay? Let's keep it 100. It's a very weird state. So the result may be surprising, but it's also not surprising. But what you have here is an all-out effort from the establishment to have Nikki Haley beat Trump, in which you have Democrats and liberal independents voting in the GOP primary in droves to try to make Nikki Haley the winner, okay, because they want her to be the GOP nominee, okay? So this is kind of representative of what you could see happen in a general election, okay? And I think that Vivek made a great point there. I mean, you literally had Democrats voting as well, too, in the GOP primary, and this bodes well for Trump going into the general election. And again, you would think that somebody like Nikki would get the picture, she would understand, and she would essentially drop out of the race and do the right thing and endorse Trump. However, that's not happening. Actually, Nikki Haley is coping, right? She's coping and seething with the reality that she lost, and she's claiming that she's not going to drop out despite the fact that there is no real path to victory for her.
I want to congratulate Donald Trump on his victory tonight. He earned it, and I want to acknowledge that. Now, you've all heard the chatter among the political class. They're falling all over themselves, saying this race is over.
It's not over.
Well, I have news for all of them. New Hampshire is first in the nation. It is not the last in the nation. This race is far from over. There are dozens of states left to go. And the next one is my sweet state of South Carolina. With Donald Trump, Republicans have lost almost every competitive election. We lost the Senate. We lost the House. We lost the White House. We lost in 2018. We lost in 2020. And we lost in 2022. The worst kept secret in politics is how badly the Democrats want to run against Donald Trump.
Trump's a loser. He's a loser.
They know Trump is the only Republican in the country who Joe Biden can defeat. You can't fix the mess if you don't win an election.
We want to win.
A Trump nomination is a Biden win and a Kamala Harris presidency.
Dumb Trump.
I defeat Biden handily. With Donald Trump Trump, you have one bout of chaos after another. This court case, that controversy, this tweet, that senior moment. You can't fix Joe Biden's chaos with Republican chaos. The other day, Donald Trump accused me of not providing security at the Capitol on January 6th. Now, I've long called for mental competency tests for politicians over the age of 75. Trump claims he'd do better than me in one of those tests. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But if he thinks that, then he should have no problem standing on a debate stage with me.
Yeah, so Nikki Haley clearly is not only Trump deranged, but she is delusional. I mean, both of those things go hand in hand, okay? I mean, delusion, Trump derangement, right? All the same thing, okay? So what you're seeing there is Nikki Haley saying, look, I'm not going to drop out, even though realistically I don't have a path to victory. And to me, it seems like she wants to get embarrassed in her home state of South Carolina, because that's what's going to happen, right? I think that Nikki Haley likes humiliation, right? She has to like being humiliated, okay? Which, I mean, nope, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it, guys, because people told me stop making sexual jokes. So I'm not going to make any sexual jokes about the news that came out about Nikki Haley, right? So I'm going to stop myself, okay? But I'm just saying, Nikki Haley apparently likes to be humiliated, okay? I just wonder, is it just on the campaign trail or is it behind closed doors too, right? Anyways, Nikki Haley, okay? Apparently she wants to be humiliated in South Carolina, okay? Because that is the only reason I can think of that she's remaining in the race, right? I don't understand why she would continue to stay in the race knowing that she doesn't have a real path to victory, right? So what she's doing here is that she's not only saying that she's staying in the race, but she's also attacking Trump, saying that he's not mentally fit and that, you know, he should debate her, which, again, I'm not sure why Trump would debate her when he doesn't even have to debate to win, right? He's going to win basically all 50 states without even debating Nikki. So I'm not sure exactly what Nikki's strategy here is, okay? Because I guess she could believe that she may pick up maybe a couple liberal states here and there, right, that may vote for her because, again, she's showing that she can get Democrats and left-leaning independents to call and vote for her enough to make the races competitive against Trump. Or she could be holding out for Trump to be pulled out of the race somehow, which is what Vivek Ramaswamy has been saying for a long time now, that that's the end goal from the establishment, to have the race come down to two people, Trump versus Nikki. Even though Nikki's getting blown out everywhere, they'll pull Trump out of the race, and then it'll be Nikki Haley. She will be the nominee, and that's how it's going to go down. I don't know, right? I have no clue at this point why Nikki Haley is still holding on. I mean, you would think that the money would dry up, okay? I mean, I'm not sure why donors would want to continue to burn money on fire, contributing to her campaign, knowing that she's not going to win. But who knows, right? Who knows exactly why Nikki Haley is remaining in the race, despite the fact that it doesn't seem like she can win. But I do know one thing for certain, right? That if Nikki Haley loses in South Carolina, which she probably will unless something dramatic changes over the next couple weeks or so, almost certainly, right? Like there's zero chance of her actually winning the nomination through the election process. It's not happening, right? So at that point, Nikki Haley is seriously going to have to drop out, right? She's actually really going to have to drop out because at that point, she doesn't have a chance. But who knows? She may be just saying, you know what, I'm going to stay in it. She might try to take it all the way to the convention. I'm not entirely sure what her strategy is, but what I do know is that she is definitely delusional and she's getting more Trump deranged by the day, which definitely probably will not help her moving forward in the primary. But we'll see, right? We'll see. Nikki seems to be convinced that somehow, some way she can pull it off. But based off what we saw in New Hampshire, which was one of her states that she was more likely to win, it seems like she doesn't really have a chance. But again, stranger things have happened in politics. I just don't see how Nikki is going to pull this off. I think that this GOP primary is essentially wrapped up. Trump is probably, most likely, definitely going to be the winner. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.